Greetings. Now, in my executive management and career series over here, we're going to talk about automation of certain executive functions and what that means in a high-tech world. Now, take, for example, the CFO position. In many corporations, the CFO is someone who either rose through the ranks of accounting and has experience managing a team of some number of people and just ascends to the CFO rank because that is who you would promote to that. But they don't have any broader finance perspective in terms of capital markets, mergers and acquisitions, macroeconomics, and so forth. The other type of CFO is the corporate lawyer, the general counsel, or an outside attorney that the corporation has worked with for a while, who seems to know enough about finance that they just move laterally to be the CFO. And I have long made the case that neither of those backgrounds are adequate because of the reasons I mentioned. Capital markets, valuation, macroeconomics, and a big picture aspect of finance and a proper understanding of working capital and return on equity. For example, the accountant type person that I just described often gets promoted to a position like controller. The controller reports to the CFO, but generally the eagle-eyed person who keeps an eye on all outgoing payments and incoming money and tracks down money that the company is owed and questions every expenditure. And you need someone like that, someone who has a tremendous eye for details, someone who nothing gets past, and someone who is not afraid to say no to things. But then that person getting promoted to the CFO position is not right in my view, because they will always say no to things just because they cost too much and not realize that sometimes to make $2, you have to spend $1. They don't have a return on equity concept. Now, because of the fintech revolution, a lot of the manual functions in corporate finance are being automated, and therefore a lot fewer corporate finance lower and mid-level people are needed. And if you look at this diagram over here, which I found on the web, the controller does take care of maybe 2/3 of what a CFO does, but most of what the controller is responsible for, all the layers underneath the controller, are being automated very fast. And therefore, the controller is either someone who's going to have to get demoted or greatly expand their skill set to become an effective CFO. If they just get promoted to be a CFO, then that does the company a disservice. Now, someone who understands all of this automation can get the totality of corporate finance work done for half as many people, thereby increasing earnings per share and a faster path to profitability if this is a tech startup or a private tech company that is still in its early stages. Therefore, the modern CFO of a technology company has to have a much greater eye towards automation, as well as on the higher concepts of finance, such as valuation and capital markets, because if the company is to be acquired or to go public or has to maintain a public company reporting structure, quarterly earnings, and the very onerous audits associated with that, the big four accounting firm audits, and so forth, all of this is facing substantial automation. Now, this is a good thing at the macro level because smaller companies will have access to the same standards of compliance that only big companies could because of the big four accounting firms being very expensive to hire. The nature of who is qualified to be a CFO actually has to change. The CFO has to be the type of person who they could see being promoted to the CEO, Chief Executive Officer position, after a couple years as the Chief Financial Officer. Corporations can no longer get away with placing a glorified controller from the accounting path or a lawyer who knows how to talk the talk regarding finance into the CFO position and paying them the lucrative CFO pay package. That is no longer going to work because a lot of the things that enabled these substitutions to occur are being automated, and high-tech companies have to think about this more than others, but even low-tech companies have to think about this because they might have twice as many people in finance and accounting than are needed, and therefore are eating away their profit margins as companies. We'll talk more about this subject in other videos in this series.